Tonight, our in-depth coverage turns to the taxes you and I pay to the state of Oklahoma. Right now, when we go to work, our wages fall under 6 different what are called tax brackets that, based off of how much money you or I make, determines which bracket we fall into and how much we will eventually pay. Now there is an effort underway to eliminate 3 of those brackets while also delivering to everyone a tax cut. Let's have a conversation about this and what's being considered at the state capitol unedited. Joining me today is Tulsa State Senator Dave Rader and Brent Skarky with the State Chamber. Thanks for joining me today. I appreciate it.
Good to see you.
I know y'all have been working on some tax reforms, mainly individual tax cuts as well and reforms as well. You are working on taking 6 brackets down to 3. Is that correct? Did I read your bill right?
Right.
How does that impact me as a taxpayer?
Well, it's going to impact you because you're going to be paying less dollars in taxes than you did this year or whenever it's enacted. So when we have 6 brackets, it's a graduated way to pay your income tax. So we're going to take away 3 of those brackets. And that specifically is going to help lower wage earners, middle wage earners, and it'll still help higher wage earners as well. But to make sure that all wage earners will have some type of reduction, we took the 4.75 to 4.70. So there's a little bit of reform in there, Rick, and there's a little bit of reduction.
I know we often hear about like businesses are looking at this, businesses are looking at that. Do businesses really look at the individual income tax rate their employees will pay?
They 100% do, and those employees look at it when they think about coming to Oklahoma to work. We commissioned a report from the Tax Foundation 5 years ago, and they gave us some ways to make Oklahoma more competitive. And one of those is to collapse those brackets, make it easier for people coming in from out of state to know how much they're going to pay. And that's what this bill does in part, and it makes it better for the entire landscape, those staying here, but those coming in from out of state as well.
I don't know who to ask this, but my fear is that when I was reading this is that I might find myself in a higher tax bracket, or will that situation happen at all?
No, that won't happen. It doesn't matter who you are in Oklahoma. If you're a tax filer, your tax burden will be reduced.
Okay.
It gets you a lower rate, but it also, like I said, jumps us up in that competitiveness. 5 years ago, we were at 31st. We've done some tax fixes along the way to make us more competitive. We got to 19th, but last year fell back to 21st because states like Louisiana have dropped their income rate from 4.25 to 3%. We're not saying we need to go down that much right now, especially as we look at some of the shortfalls in revenue maybe coming in this year, but we think by being more competitive with that condensing of brackets, more businesses look at us. What do we do then? We grow the pie because more people are paying taxes.
Are we falling behind other states? We often hear we have to do things because another state did this thing. Or,
no,
okay.
I don't think so. I think people are looking at us with the largest tax decrease in the history of the state was last year with the grocery tax. 2 years before that, or 3 years before that, we reduced the tax rate from 5 to 4.75. And we've done a commonly called the marriage tax. We eliminated that.
And then eliminate the marriage penalty. Franchise tax.
The franchise tax was eliminated, and we took the corporate tax from 6 to 4%. So all of these has worked together to where other states are saying, well, this is what they're doing in Oklahoma. But one of the things that we're talking about here is the ability to be competitive and make it more simple, okay, for you and I to figure out.
Me too. Yeah.
But to be more fair across the board on this, and to do that, then we just have to simplify what we're doing, and so when businesses come to look at us, it's just not all this convoluted. Well, how much math do I have to know to figure out how many taxes my employees are going to make? So we're trying to work this to keep our agencies fully funded as best we can and still attract more people to come to Oklahoma, because what we find out, you help me on this one, what we find out is when people come here and they bring their businesses here, they say this is a great move, we're glad we're here, we want to stay.
But you got to get them here first, and what they look at are tax rates, what they look at as infrastructure, what they look at is education. All those factors go into play. Taxes is a way that we can do it through legislation right now, make us more competitive across the board, and it really is something that will make a difference to our overall tax pie down the road. If we can grow the pie, we can lower the rate, but we got to grow that pie so to make sure that we're funding the roads, the schools, all that stuff that we obviously do not want to see.
But part of the growing the pie is the reforms that are in this bill. So we had 3 of the 6 categories going to be eliminated. But even more reform is going to be needed later to take away 2 more of those columns. And then we are setting ourselves up to do some real, true tax reform to help the taxpayers. But this is a graduated process. And our budget just can't take that hit right now because we still have to have a budget. And in Oklahoma, we have to have a balanced budget. It's constitutionally mandated, nor would we want to do anything else. So this is a piece, and it sets up a process, and it sets up a protocol that we can follow for years to come to reduce this burden on the taxpayer.
Is this proposal at risk because the pro tem said, yes, we are behind on the budget? I think, you know, even last year you were further along, even though you had fighting. Are you still going to do a tax cut with this budget?
That's a great question. I think so, but I'm 1 vote out of 149 votes on the 4th floor there. But this bill, House Bill 1200, gives us a chance to where the varying voices that are on that floor, because the trigger is in this bill, the lowering of the rate is in this bill, reform is in this bill, plus in this bill is the ability that if the federal government changes how they're going to pay our Medicare expenses, we can pause this process so we can pay that bill if the federal dollars are not going to be what they once were. So this gives the taxpayer confidence that if we do a tax cut, we can afford it because we don't want to go in debt. We don't want to be behind. And if we can't afford it, then it is a process that can continue on for years to come. And that's what's in this bill.
So long story short for the folks at home, and I'm almost out of time, let's say I'm watching this, listening to us talk politics. When I go and pay my taxes this time next April, I should see this if it passes, and you don't have to deal with a deficit or making up for a deficit. Is that correct?
Lower taxes for you, everyone, and probably more people coming in from out of state to pay more taxes, so everyone benefits.
Thank you, gentlemen. I'm out of time.
Thank you, Rick.
We'll be watching.
Thank you.